Recording in progress.
All right, that's recording. Good morning. Welcome to 2026 Thurston County and our Board of County Commissioners Board Work Session for this Tuesday, January 6th, 2026. Our first of this year. It's 9:04 a.m. My name is Ty Menser, Chair of the Board. To my right, left, Commissioner Wayne Fournier, our Vice Chair, Commissioner Rachel Grant, Commissioner Klaus, and will be walking in here momentarily on Zoom right now, and Commissioner Mejia, virtually present. We have County Manager Leonard Hernandez, Assistant County Manager Jennifer Walker, and Josh Cummings, Clerk of the Board Amy Davis. All right, we have the meeting live streamed to the Thurston County YouTube channel, and written public comment may be received up to 2 hours in advance of this meeting and distributed to the board. Action may be taken at this meeting. So we have a slightly different agenda format, Madam Clerk.
Yeah, it's a little more consistent with the business meeting agenda format.
Okay, very good. So we called the meeting to order, and so the first up substantive item is number 2, which is an agenda review for this afternoon's business meeting. So it's our main topic for this morning. Okay, we'll call that meeting to order at 2 p.m. per usual, with the Pledge of Allegiance to be led by me. Land acknowledgement, approval of agenda. We have public comment period, the related to agenda items, and county manager update. Anything, County Manager?
Thank you, Chair. Happy New Year. It's great to be here. Yeah, we'll be updating on the Thompson Creek Fish Patches project. We have some pictures. Super proud of the work that the public works staff have done on that. Also, just making a quick recognition that this month has consent proclamations for Martin Luther King Jr. Day and Law Enforcement Appreciation Day.
All right, thank you. Public comment, I'll just make a mention that Commissioner Klaus and I haven't had time with the holiday to kind of powwow or have a discussion about some of the ideas that we discussed at the last meeting in December. So I plan to do what I did at the last meeting in December, which is just basically make an announcement that this is related to items on the agenda. If somebody has a time constraint, they cannot stay till a later period, we'll take their public comment, and then I'll just use that as a placeholder until Commissioner Klaus and I can discuss as was agreed by the board in December. So hopefully that's okay. Consent items, we have 1 through 17, and the first one is hearing examiner contract amendment. CPED.
Happy New Year. This is a standard contract extension for the pro tem hearing examiner that provides services to both CPED and environmental health. We have 2 hearing examiners that provide services to the county. So this is an extension of the contract for Sharon Rice and Associates. Along with the extension, there will be changes to the hourly rates to be consistent with our other hearing examiner. And the cost of the hearing examiner are covered by development fees that come in. So this will have no impact on the budget.
Questions on the hearing examiner contract amendment? None. Go to item 2, which is also CPED, Experience Olympia and Beyond contract amendment and 2026 budget.
Yeah, so this is an extension of the contract that that the county has with Experience Olympia and Beyond to support the tourism promotion area. It is an extension of up to 3 years, and it's the 4th time that the county has extended our relationship with Experience Olympia Beyond. The attached budget is also included for your awareness. The cost of this contract comes from a mixture of LTAC funds as well as monies that are collected through the tourism promotion area and some private grants, so won't have any impact to the general fund.
And if I'll add, Commissioners, this was brought forward by the new interim executive director of Experience Olympia and Beyond, which she'll be coming later this month to do a meet and greet with the board, which I think is an outstanding step, and I appreciate that initiative. This partnership is important to the county. It has been going for some years now, and there's a role the county plays to facilitate this, but we're happy to answer any questions.
Yeah, we're very happy with the direction they're going. They added a county member to their board, which was a big improvement from our perspective. So this is a good move.
Okay, any other questions? All right, very good. Thank you, Ashley. Item 3 is contract amendment for the federal fiscal year 24 Homeland Security Grant Program, 25-219.
Happy New Year. Just briefly to go over this, Thurston County was awarded $250,000 in Homeland Security grant projects. Keep in mind that this is for the Homeland Security Region 3 region as a whole, so it's a multi-county region that we're the lead administrative agency on. One of those projects was specifically fell into the category of counterterrorism vehicle barriers. With that, within the project parameters that were awarded, the auditor's office has worked with Central Services, with Thurston County Emergency Management and other partners, and they've determined that the opportunity to use these funds is no longer exists. And so we are reverting back $53,000 to the state to be reapplied to another national priority area within the state. This is just an administrative exchange to be able to authorize the amendment signature, authorize me to sign that amendment to revert those funds back and to be reapplied to a different project.
Not necessarily within Region 3.
Not necessarily within Region 3. So this gets reverted, that's a good question. It gets reverted back to the state to reapply, not within the region. It may come back to the region, but at this point, it doesn't appear to.
Commissioner Claus.
Thank you, Chair. So I think I asked some similar questions the first time you came forward with a grant or opportunity from Homeland Security. And I have concerns that are increasing over time as our federal administration continues to label people who speak out against our president as terrorists. So how do we know that our community is safe if we're partnering with Homeland Security on grants related to terrorism?
The way in which we make, I can answer part of that question.
Okay.
And some of that is, I'll be pretty blunt, some of it is unknowable. Some of it is an opinion, and it's a variety of different opinions. But the way in which we want to invest in our community to make it safe is to make it prepared and more resilient. And that's important when we're looking at identifying threats, and then as we go through hazard mitigation planning, which we presented to you within the past year, those hazard mitigation projects help us to look ahead and prepare for things that may occur. And that's probably the best answer I can give you as to how prepared is our community. It's making sure that we identify those threats, making sure we're making our community resilient, and making sure that they're prepared and well informed.
Was this agreement reviewed by our legal team, and did they see any new language that was added that would commit the county to stipulations that we haven't had in the past?
To my knowledge, no. And these were grant funds that were applied through FEMA grant fiscal year 24 that were prior to the current administration.
Good to know.
I can do a deeper dive if you'd like to make sure, but our legal team, I believe, did not have any issues with this.
There wouldn't necessarily be a new agreement in us returning funds we
That's
didn't
correct.
use.
This is still underneath fiscal year 24, and that's important to note.
As kind of taking this up a level, I mean, we do a lot of things that are extensions of things we've done in the past, and I would expect, I don't want anything to slip by the board. We don't know, something's changed and we're not being made aware of it. So just kind of looking at the county manager, but also to directors and stuff. I mean, it's incumbent upon you, I think the board would agree, if there's something that's fundamentally different in some way, we would want to know. And that before we do approval of a contract extension or whatever, and we may choose to go forward, but just to have that as something that you guys are looking for and bringing to our attention so that we don't get caught saying that we extended something, but there were all these new provisions in it, or maybe one new provision in it that's really important, so.
Yeah, I agree. That's the sentiments and the direction the board has provided is that we are reviewing any new agreements that come through, but knowing that this was something that was initiated in 2024 and that this is funds giving back, I understand the context of it is different, but if there was a new agreement, we would definitely run that through our legal team and flag any new conditions or requirements for receiving funding or entering into agreement.
Thank you.
Commissioner, I'll add just a bit to that as well. Most of the current FEMA agreements are currently in litigation with the state in terms of any of the new language. And so any FEMA grants that have been presented to this board would have been previous language. No new agreements have been brought to the board, and we'll make sure to highlight any concerns or changes as we move forward.
Thank you, Ben.
I would like to move this item to department items.
Okay. It'll be a department item.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ben.
Just curious, why? Just,
Well, this is something that I continuously receive questions about, so I think,
just because it's FEMA related or because? I'm curious, you receive questions about this specific thing, returning money back to FEMA Region 3, or you receive questions about just FEMA?
no, I receive questions about, contracts with the federal government, particularly certain, departments of the federal government, like
Just
Homeland Security.
For Ben's benefit, you're not saying you received questions specifically about this thing?
I actually have received questions about this contract.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay, thank you, Ben.
thank you, Ben.
Next up is a human resource item, item 4, resolution for changes to 2025 position control schedule.
Morning, Commissioners, Happy New Year, Maria Ponte, HR Director. This is a couple of housekeeping items that resulted from decisions made during the third and final budget amendment just a few weeks ago. And the first item is to formally add 1 FTE to position control. It's a sheriff's deputy position. And it's based on a grant that the Sheriff's Office received from the Washington Traffic Safety Commission for DUI enforcement. And the second item is to delete 2 FTEs from juvenile detention. That was based on the state pulled the BECA bill funding. The positions were vacant at the time that happened. And so this formally eliminates the 2 FTEs from position control. With that, I'd be happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Item 5, 2026 request for proposals for public health and social services.
Good morning. Happy New Year. Jen Freiheit, who am I? Director, Public Health and Social Services. Yes, this is a request for the board to authorize Public Health and Social Services to issue 3 different requests for proposals to receive applications for contracts related to services for homeless services, affordable housing, and veterans emergency shelter funds. The Homeless Services RFP will seek applications that fund the cold and hazardous weather projects and facilitation of the Lived Experience Housing Steering Committee. And the Affordable Housing RFP will seek applications that fund capital projects to develop or preserve affordable housing. And all of the RFPs will be reviewed by the Regional Housing Council prior to bringing it forward to all of you. And the Regional Housing Council approved a motion to recommend to the BOCC issuance of the Homeless Services and the Affordable Housing RFPs at its December 10th, 2025 meeting. And the Veterans Assistance Fund will seek applications to fund emergency shelter beds for veterans, and the applications will be reviewed by the Veterans Advisory Board prior to presenting to all of you. And I have Tom Webster here to help answer any questions.
Not hearing any questions? All right, good to go, thank you.
Thank you.
Let's see, item 6 is public health and social services. Request for applications for the 26-27 Stronger Together Community Vape Prevention and Cessation Grants Program.
Yes, this is another getting money out the door. This is a request for the board to approve to authorize us to issue the request for applications for the Community Vape Prevention and Cessation Grants. So in 2023, just to recap, Washington State received a settlement award from Juul and Altria as part of a multi-state agreement addressing youth-targeted marketing practices. And a portion of these funds is being distributed to counties, including us, to support local prevention and cessation initiatives. And as part of this 2026-2027 Stronger Together Community Vape Prevention and Cessation Grants Program, PHSS is preparing to release this RFA on January 12th to distribute up to $250,000 in settlement funds to community partners to support local vaping prevention and cessation initiatives. And I have Lori Montoya, our community health, or our maternal and child health program nurse manager, here to help answer any questions.
Commissioner Mejia?
Thank you. When I was looking at this one, I was trying to remember, I was like, where is this one pot of money coming from? So I appreciate the information there. I'm wondering, in the past, how the grant process has gone, and I just need a refresher, because this was one of the ones where I was looking at it and I was like, okay, who usually, is it nonprofits, is it school districts, what is?
This is the first time we're putting out this sort of RFA.
Okay, so I'm not going, kind of like, I was like, wait, I can't remember this.
Because it's relatively new money, so now we're finally.
Perfect, okay. So this is a new request that is going out to the public, and,
Can you describe, you said it's new money, can you give a little bit of background on where the funding is coming from, how we know it's stable funding source?
Sure. This is the settlement from Jewel and Altria, to help in those cessation initiatives. So it's relatively new in that we have a dedicated staff person who's doing all of the programming, and I'll let Lori talk a little bit more about its stability. It's a settlement dollars.
And
so.
the context, as the answer is, right now with funding that's dropping out, we just want to make sure that we understand when it's new funding, how reliable is that source, so we don't get projects and programs and staff going and then have to, it's been a bit of that as of late, and so if you could kind of speak to that.
I really have the same questions for item 5 as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's settlement dollars, so it's not long-term sustained funding. It's, when it's gone. And so, and that'll be put out in the request as well too, to let people know that it's not necessarily sustainable.
do we know how much the settlement with opioid funding, for example, right? We have kind of this like estimate of like, this is how much is estimated to be coming through. Do we have an estimate of what's going to be coming through year over year? Is there a timeline for that?
The total amount is $804,000.
Okay.
We've received roughly $635,000 of it already. We're expected to have 2 more payments come in, one in January of 2026, so this month, and then another one next year for the final $200,000.
And so what we're doing right now is it's just going to be for 250,000, and it's just to extend kind of the life of that more.
So it's a one-time funding opportunity for up to $250,000 is what we're gonna put out in the community. So we already have that funding. It's something that we already currently have that would be a one-time thing, so it won't be
Okay,
continual.
sorry. Thank you.
Yeah, no, I think I have, oh, sorry, were you first? Go ahead.
You can go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna see if I can clarify this a little bit. So in total, we're going to receive $804,000 over a period of time, right? And is your position paid for through that? Is the position itself paid for through that? And then we're also, so we're gonna put $250,000 out for 2 years? Is that what we're saying? It'll be a 2-year long, about $500,000 total, but then the money will be gone and the campaign will be over?
No.
We do have an education and outreach staff person who is funded through this now currently, yes. And that's the answer to the first part, and then I'll let you answer
Yeah,
the
and it's $250,000 total, so it's not $500, it's $250 total.
Okay.
Maybe if I could suggest that, since this is a new funding source, that if we have time, could we do a board work session next week and go over the details, similar to, as Commissioner Mejia mentioned, about the opioid settlement. It was great for the board to see it in a chart and for us to identify what the plan is for multiple years and how we're gonna spend the funding.
Absolutely.
I know that you all have done projects like this in the past with different funding sources. I know you've had youth-led initiatives around cessation for tobacco and vaping. So is that the plan for this RFA? Will it be similar where you seek out either organizations or maybe schools or places that have youth involved to have them put together and facilitate projects that help us understand better, like the pathway to cessation for youth? Is that kind of the idea behind this RFA? Okay, perfect. Those projects have been really successful in the past. I've actually helped some youth lead one of those projects years ago. So I know how important it is and how impactful it is. So I just want to thank you for that work. And I look forward to the work session. I think we'll learn a lot, and the board will probably really appreciate that. So thank you.
I have basically all the same questions for item 5. I would like a work session on that as well.
Okay, thank you.
Good, thank you.
Stay with Public Health and Social Services for item 7, agreement with Dispute Resolution Center of Thurston County CJTA funds.
And I'm gonna talk about the next three all sort of packaged together because as you know, Thurston County receives CJTA funds each year from the Washington State Healthcare Authority to support treatment and recovery services for individuals with substance use disorder who have pending county criminal charges or are enrolled in therapeutic court. So for the 2-year period from July 1, 2025 through June 30th, 2027, the county will continue receiving this $369,933 in CJTA funding annually. And items, the next three are requesting authorization of 3 CJTA subcontracts with external organizations whose budget allocations were recommended by the panel and approved by the board on December 16th. So all 3 proposed external agreements cover the same 2-year period, however, include different subcontractor amounts and services. So it is Dispute Resolution Center for $1,600 to provide restorative justice facilitated dialogues. FES, Family Education and Support Services, for $4,400 to continue to provide parenting classes, including those currently incarcerated at the Thurston County Corrections Facility, and with Thurston Mason BHASO for $97,000 per year, $194,000 total, to provide housing, case management, and rental assistance. And I have Shaylin Sowers here to help answer any questions on that as well.
Thank you for this. I was really excited to see item number 8 for FES. And I just wanted to know, because we did receive, during the budget process, we received an email from Shelley, the director of FES, and the amounts that she was concerned about seemed to match up exactly with this item. So I just wanted to make sure, is this the $4,400, is that for the services that were provided that they thought they were going to not receive?
It will it will reimburse them for July through September, the services that were provided in good faith, and also about 35 additional parenting classes.
Perfect, that's great. I was really upset when I saw Shelley's email about those services being disrupted. So I'm really glad you were able to figure this out. Thank you for that.
It won't cover the full extension of the contract.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's why we, when we approved the CJTA, I made a comment that if there were more funds that we would consider Dispute Resolution Center and Family Education and Support Services for the duration of that period of time where the classes won't be available anymore.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you
They
for the
will be
clarification.
reduced.
Okay,
But staff did work to get them covered during a period where there was an end date and then services went beyond. And so I really appreciate working together to get that period covered, because I know there was a lot of juggling and identifying how to make that whole. We appreciate the work that Shelley Willis does for our community.
And the DRC, is that, so based on your comment, Commissioner Mejia, they requested more than this?
Yeah, it just came out short, like in both programs, just because of how
So
the
is that
funding worked
only a
out.
DRC, like a reimbursement for what they've already done type of thing?
That is correct,
The
yes.
panel didn't want to move forward with funding that.
They recommended, so it will pay for the services provided July through September, same case as FAS, and then also an additional case that they had been ongoing while we were having the conversations about the CJTA plan.
All right. So that's 7, 8, 9, and these are really just the legislative action behind the discussions that we had in the last year. There's nothing really new here.
Correct.
Okay. Any other questions from the board on 7, 8, or 9? Commissioner Mejia?
We do have a state rep on the CJTA board, so funding comes down our way, please let us.
No, you got it, you got it, I will absolutely do that.
All right, thank you. And we'll go to item 10, which is also PHSS, contract with Washington State Healthcare Authority.
Yes, thank you. This is the request for the board to approve the interagency agreement with the Washington State Healthcare Authority for the period of January 1, 2026 through December 31, 2029. This contract provides partial federal reimbursement to local health jurisdictions for specific activities that staff already perform, so some of our clinical staff. These activities are related to facilitating access to Medicaid-covered services through outreach, application of assistance, linkage, program planning, and interagency coordination. So some of the things like our nurses who are doing both case investigation and in-home care there. There is specific types of employees and classifications that can generate Medicaid match reimbursement. And the work they do in their classification allows them to be reimbursed for Medicaid match and helps to pay their salaries. So it helps to retain these staff and these services. And the more staff time spent on enhancing a person's health, the better suited that position is for receiving Medicaid match. So it's very nuanced and specific. And so this is just a request to be able to continue what this receipt is that has been happening in public health and social services for 20 years.
Any questions? Thank you. Thank you, Gretchen. Good to see you. Item 11, sticking with PHSS, is amendment number 12 to the consolidated contract.
Yes, here for amendment number 12, which provides an increase of $324,000 for revised maximum consideration of $10,773,794 for the 2-year period of January 1, 2025 through December 31, 2027. This particular amendment adds statements of works to our syringe services harm reduction program, $115,000, which is around our infectious disease work with adult viral hepatitis, HIV, and STI at our syringe services program. And then also our shellfish protection strategic initiative 2.0, $140,000 to improve the water quality shellfish resources in Totten and Eld inlets with the watershed by supporting the septic system maintenance and that. And then it amends statements of work for overdose data to action, $63,800, by adding a task and revising our program specific language, and also amending transient non-community systems for environmental health and the Blue Band Family Initiative or intervention nurse in our community health division. And any questions?
Questions on that? Item 11. All right, thank you.
Great, thank you.
Item 12,
Thank you,
on to
Jen.
Public Works. Setting a public hearing on proposed ordinance amending Thurston County Code, Chapter 2.104, Comprehensive Property Management Procedures.
Good afternoon, County Commissioners, County Manager.
This morning.
This afternoon. Off to a great start here in 2026, as you can tell. Public Works is requesting the Board of County Commissioners set a public hearing to receive comment regarding a proposed code amendment to Thurston County Code 2.104 regarding comprehensive property management procedures. Public Works staff initiated these code amendments to support the newly developed property management surplus program. Staff used this opportunity to review this code comprehensively with other departments to ensure consistent procedures across the county. Public Works has established a property management surplus program to evaluate all Public Works custodial properties to determine their current or future necessity. Properties intended as surplus to Public Works operations will first be vetted for potential need by other county offices and departments before being brought to the County Board of County Commissioners for consideration for disposition. Since unneeded properties pose potential liabilities to the county, such as illegal dumping, trespassing, the potential of injury, disposing of the surplus properties will reduce the liability to the county and return the properties to the tax roll. I'll go into the specifics of the proposed amendments at the public hearing, but at a high-level summary, the amendments include: 1, clarifying advertising requirements for the county property sold at public auction, both for personal property and for real property. And then 2, allow the county to sell surplus properties to adjacent property owners at fair market value prior to public auction. With that, be happy to answer any questions.
I have a question. So how many, this is a set of procedures replacing a better set of procedures replacing some previous process?
Correct.
And under that previous process, say in the last 5 years, how many of these have we done? Have we surplus? I mean, trying to remember where.
I don't think we've
Okay,
We have, Public Works is not, that's the
think
new,
so.
that's the new program, is the Public
okay, your
Works
reaction,
Property
your reaction's
Surplus
confirming
Program.
my sense, which is like, I don't remember seeing us doing this.
Correct, so
This is a brand new
new,
program, so.
new program. And we needed to make sure that we have the RCWs and our, you know, the process in place. I'm sorry, our code.
TCCs.
TCC, sorry, I got after you for afternoon, now I can't use the right reference on that, but our code needs to be in alignment across so that we are doing things in the same manner that Central Services is using and the Treasurer's Office is using, making sure that those are all in alignment. So we took the time to make sure we got the code in alignment with the program.
So this would be specific to Public Works.
This is
The properties,
Parcels that are in the custody of Public Works, so, parks and trails, there's property that's been just quitclaim deeded, I don't even know how long ago. And now there's a process that the county has to accept, you can't just quitclaim, the board has to actually accept, which is in alignment with RCW and Thurston County Code. And so prior to going through, it's a simple, what are all of the parcels, the properties that are in the custody of Public Works? Are they integral to operations? Are we holding them for future development, for infrastructure? Or do we need to surplus and put them back into the tax roll? It's really like three categories.
Is there another option to lease property out?
Not at this time with the resources that are available to manage that.
Could there be?
There could be.
I don't know what
if
our property inventory looks like, but, you know, like CPED, and we're leasing out property for grazing land and things like that. I mean, could that be something that we consider?
It could be. Not with the current resources, but yes, it could be.
That would be a new line of business for sure for Public Works.
I don't know what we have, but if we have the inventory for things like that, then maybe we should consider.
Well, I think as they go through and evaluate all of those parcels, the board will determine whether they want to surplus it or not.
Yeah.
So you have the opportunity when that comes before you to evaluate that for sure.
Okay.
So nothing is going to be surplused and sold. That's all board, that's a board action, a board decision that directs staff to do
Yeah,
that.
you're
And this
right.
is not to be bringing a piece of property forward at this point in time. This action is just to get the code updated.
But I'm just saying, we're landlording all over the place now. We've got our new campus where we're leasing space out. CPED is leasing out grazing land. I don't know what
think
Public Works is sitting on, but maybe there's potential.
And that's part of that evaluation process that we go through when we look at the different different properties, because many of them have restrictions associated with them or may not have a high value other than to adjoining property owners, for example. But there is that thorough process that we, as we go through those properties, we'd be looking at.
But to Steph's point, that's not even part of the conversation right now.
Mhm.
We can have that conversation later with the board. Right now, they're just doing their due diligence to get a process in place. I think part of what triggered this is when we went through the process with Central Services, and making sure we're aligning policies internally, and so I appreciate them bringing it. So it gives us the option to have those future discussions.
Cool.
Thank you. I know my district is very interested in this code change, and I'm wondering before, I guess, we have the public hearing, if it's okay that I take some time with staff.
Yeah.
To just be sure that, you know, I want to be able to communicate to my district if there are any, because I know they've been keeping tabs on this and they've been asking when this is going to be coming up, so I know they're very interested.
And again, this doesn't affect any specific properties. This is just the code that gives the process that we would go through when we are moving on properties, taking some action on properties.
Yeah.
We'd be happy to brief.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think all those hazard trees we can get rid of. We've had to pay for it.
Oh, yeah, yeah, no.
And I should mention that there was an e-brief sent out in, I can't give you the exact date in June, but in June, if you'd like additional information on this.
June feels so long ago, man.
All the way last year.
All right, Public Works, next item 13, setting a public hearing for temporary partial road closure of Sexton Drive Northwest.
Sir, I hope this is near and dear to your heart, right? So our request is to set a public hearing for February 3rd, 2026 to consider a proposed temporary closure of a portion of Sexton Drive Northwest. Sexton Drive Northwest is a dead-end spur north of Steamboat Island Road, which is off 101, Highway 101 in the northwest area of the county. And the roadway currently serves 4 property owners, and this proposed action is in response to concerns brought forward by those property owners. It's a dead-end road and has experienced recurring problems with illegal dumping and RV abandonment for several years. And to address these issues, our solid waste division in Public Works, Public Health Environmental Division, and the Sheriff's Office has been involved in cleanup operations and in law enforcement responses that all impact workload, operational costs, and have safety concerns associated with them. So Public Works has completed. Okay, Public Works completed an engineer's report, and we're recommending a temporary closure of the portion of Sexton Road Northwest for a period of 10 years. And during this period, a section of the road would be closed to traffic with exceptions for emergency purposes and property access. It does not currently provide public benefit beyond providing access at 2 different driveways near the beginning of the road, and a gate would be positioned to pass these driveways. And we did include a map with the proposed gate location as a part of the meeting materials for today. All of the property owners have been contacted and consulted with and are in support of the proposed solution or closure. And the Sheriff's Office also is in support of this closure. And just for further information and context, one of the owners, Capital Land Trust, has plans to potentially develop their property there towards the end in the future, but they don't have a definitive timeline. But at any point in time, should any of the property owners need full access restored, we can reopen that road.
This item, Commissioners, I just want to give kudos to Public Works, to our Sheriff's Department. This is one of those items that pops up and is a concern that's developing, and it could have been an even bigger concern. Staff come together several months back, start working on a solution. This is one of those things, Commissioner Menser, where it'll appear on an agenda item, but the public may not understand all the work that went into it and the progress that's being made and really addressing something that could have become a bigger community blight. And so these things start months ago and then they're worked on. There's a lot of meetings. People don't always see all that work. Thank you for your customer service, your outreach, and your due diligence bringing this forward.
If I could comment a little further, I first was brought to the attention of this from Capital Land Trust because they own a property toward the end of the road. The things that were happening there were causing them to question whether they should even own this property or make the investments for the community asset that they had planned. You know, to the county manager's point, you know, people come with good ideas all the time, you know, oh, it'd be easy to just do this thing. And then I call Jennifer or Karen and like, it's not quite as easy to do that thing as you think it is, but thank you for working through this because it will not only, it's kind of a two-pronged thing. It's not only gonna hopefully stave off the negative consequences, but by doing that, it could create an incredible, you know, positive consequence for community asset because now Capital Land Trust, which is one of the property owners, now will feel comfortable because this was this was an adaptation of their original idea to invest in this community resource because what we did is we initially checked out all the things that they were saying were happening. They were all happening. The Sheriff's Office backed that up. The Public Works team backed that up. We went out and looked, and I mean everything that was going on there. It was not hyperbole or, you know, they were right on point. So it was good to be able to come up with a solution.
Yeah, and we know that managing properties, whether it's in roadways and the adjacent lands, or it's through our code compliance, that there is work that continues to need to be done in our community. So this is a great example of where departments stepped up to the plate and shouldered the work that it took to get everything in alignment to do. It sounds easy, oh, just do this, just do that. And they're being responsive to the community, but it is a time and effort, and we appreciate that.
Just for people's understanding where this is, it's not way up Steamboat Island. It's right near the tennis athletic club, kind of near the highway. So it's a place that I think a lot of people will be able to access once there's developed resources there.
We'll take a moment and give a shout out to Todd Mason, our development review manager, who really did the work to make this happen. Matt and I get to take all the compliments, but the hard work was done really through Todd Mason.
And again, it doesn't have to be me, but I want somebody here to get kudos from me. So I'm assuming you guys are doing outreach to Capital Land Trust, the property owners, and letting them know that this is moving forward.
Yes.
Excellent. Awesome. All right, thank you. Item 14, interagency agreement with the Washington State Patrol for mobilization response and reimbursement of costs. Sheriff's Office item, and we have Sheriff and Undersheriff.
Good morning, Board. So this is basically just an agreement for reimbursement for the resources that we recently sent up north. So as you guys know, we had all of the different flooding issues that occurred, and we sent a contingency of a number of different rotational teams for dive and rescue services. And so this is just our process to get reimbursed for those funds that we expended. Hotel stays, food, those types of things.
Questions for the sheriff's team? Pretty straightforward. You guys got another item? Let's see. Yes, item 15, resolution to create Fund 1210, Sheriff's Office Aviation Program Donation Fund.
Yeah, so we requested the county finance team and the Board of County Commissioners to assist us with creating a donation fund for the aviation unit. Right now, the helicopter is being torn apart and being examined and making sure it's all flight ready and ready to go. There's been a number of business owners and individuals out in the community who have expressed that they would love to donate to an aviation unit to have an aviation asset here in Thurston County, but don't want it to just go into general fund or off into the distance where they don't really know where their dollars are being spent. So this would just create, what's that?
Just give it to us.
I mean, hey, I'm okay with just giving it to you guys, and we've done that so far. We've gotten some large donations, and we've just deposited that into the public safety sales tax. But then it gets confusing when it shows up under that line item, and we're spending those dollars. So this would just be an opportunity to say, yep, if you want your money to go directly into this program, you can donate to it, and then we can expend from it any expenses that arise.
Sheriff, if I may, this is something the board directed our budget team and the sheriff's team to work together on. So special thanks to Heidi Thompson, Summer Miller, and the other staff who worked at the research on this. They went out, looked at other counties, came back, had to work the back end. Again, something that was, I think, asked for a couple months ago.
If that.
Yeah.
Maybe 5-6 weeks ago.
5-6 weeks ago, in the midst of all the budget stuff that we're working on. Staff bringing it forward for your consideration. I appreciate their hard work.
Absolutely. This is a good way to help track the true costs as well, I think.
Yeah, it'll be a piece of it. There'll be different grants and things like that we apply for in the future. But this will be an easy way to, as you said, kind of manage some of the ongoing costs and understand what they are and build directly to it.
Questions for the sheriff, Commissioner Claus?
Yeah, thank you. I guess I'll start off with, I would like to request a board work session on this item before we pass it through. I just have some questions that I think would require a little bit more time to answer. And I'm not a lawyer, but I've tried to look into this as much as I can. And it looks like there are laws around it that allow us to do this. We are allowed to accept donations. That's good. I wasn't sure about that until I looked into it a little bit more. So yeah, I just want to start off with that because that's my request, is to have a work session on this and maybe have legal at the table to ask questions.
And we did get it approved by legal, just so that we're.
Yeah, thank you. I saw that in the AIS. And I also see the resolution in the AIS, but I don't see an MOU with the company Northwest Helicopters. Is that what they're called? I didn't see an MOU with that entity. And I know that they'll be providing volunteer time and pilots for the sheriff's office whenever you need them. And so is there is there an MOU in place?
It's being worked on.
Okay,
So the MOU is being worked on. We pulled up our old MOU with the same company that we used in the past. But that to me was separate from what people choose to do with their donation money and how they want that money to be spent. So to me, those two things aren't necessarily married together. I mean, technically, if our partnership with Northwest, they decided we don't wanna do this, but we get $1 million in donations and decide that we're gonna do our own thing, then that would be two separate issues in my mind, so.
yeah. Okay, thanks for separating that for me, cause when we talked about this before, donating time is also a donation, so will that be tracked as like an in-kind donation? How do you track volunteer time? I don't know, maybe you've had that before in other contexts. But I just had a lot of questions about like the back and forth donations and the gift of public funds doctrine. I looked into that a little bit to just make sure I kind of had my mind wrapped around it. And it looks like first, the resolution number, it does state that the establishment of said fund can be accomplished or may be accomplished without a public hearing pursuant to state and county budget laws, but it doesn't cite the specific laws. So I would like that to be in the resolution, so that it's easier for people to look up what laws we're talking about. Cause I had a little bit of a hard time. I looked up a lot of stuff and couldn't actually find anything that said county specific. It didn't talk about county specific budget laws. It talks about cities and towns. So maybe that inherently applies to counties. But I just couldn't find anything that specifically said that, and maybe it's in county code, maybe that's what this is referring to, and I didn't look at the county code, but I'd like to know more about where it says we can do this without a public hearing. And then, even though we may accomplish this without a public hearing, I do think the public would be interested in providing comments at a public hearing on this item. Do you have any thoughts on whether or not, like, what do you think about setting a public hearing before we pass this through?
I suppose I'm not opposed, but I want to ensure that we're talking about the same thing. I'm not asking for budget. I'm not asking for more money. I'm just asking for a fund so that if people decide they'd like to donate their own money, that they can donate that. So it kind of seems like it's being challenged as a process of, the sheriff's office is going out and seeking $1 million of general fund, when really we're just asking to set up a fund so that if people want to donate their money, which it sounds like there's a strong interest, that those people can donate their money. And so I guess I'm not tracking what the major concerns are going to be.
Yeah.
I guess would be my point is what I'm trying to understand.
That totally makes sense. I have gotten a lot of questions about this, a lot of people coming to me after hearing, when the room was packed full of people with public comment. It was all over the news and a lot of people know about it. So I've received a lot of questions about, is it legal to create a donation fund? Well, yes, it is, but how are those donations documented? Are they tax deductible? Are they gonna be anonymous donations? Will we know who's donating their money? And there were questions about like how this is going to be tracked. And there was some concern around like a specific office creating a donation fund when other offices don't have donation funds, and can other offices create donation funds for their programs too? There was just a lot of questions I received around how this is gonna work.
Sure, and I don't, but that, to me, that's not my public town hall to have, I guess would be my point. My job isn't whether or not other offices and departments want to create their own donation funds. That's between the county manager and the board of county commissioners. I asked for one. So I guess that would be my perspective, is that, and again, kind of going back, is that what is the issue if someone anonymously does want to donate? We've received 2 large anonymous donations of $17,000 and $19,000 approximately. Those funds were deposited into the public safety sales tax and then spent. So I don't know. I guess what I'm trying to figure out is, so far nothing that you've mentioned has raised any red flags for me as what is going against what's already kind of how things kind of work. All we're asking for is that, almost to your point, can we get a specific account that does track these types of things? So it's not just deposited into the public safety sales tax or general fund and spent, and you guys are wondering where we got the authority from and those types of things. It just goes into its own account. It's accounted for. It's a 1210 fund, so we will be required to do all of the same reporting that we do for general fund and public safety sales tax as a county fund.
The board already gave direction to create that, right? Like,
Well,
that's
my
why we're
understanding is the
here,
board
like,
gave
the
direction
board,
to.
the board already made that decision to give direction to create that thing.
My
So,
question is-
I don't wanna relitigate that thing.
No, and my question is, is this resolution just setting up, giving authorization to set up the bank account, or does it go into all those things that Commissioner Claus is asking about? I mean, I don't know if this is a question for you or whoever, or legal, but I don't know if you're, how familiar you are with the details of the resolution itself, but does it even go into all those operational elements of how you would track it and blah, blah, blah? I mean, it may just be set up like authorization to set up a bank account, so to speak, an accounting account.
It sets up the bank account and then explains what the money can be spent on, similar to any other fund resolution, right? And that's kind of that was the entire intent of it, was that individuals have expressed they'd like to donate to get something going like this. They don't wanna donate money and then have it be spent on something entirely outside of that. So that was the purpose of the resolution of the fund.
We've already spent a lot of time talking about this. We've had fire chiefs come in and testify before us saying how valuable this is as a search and rescue tool to the fire service. We had Ben Miller Todd come in and explain how invaluable this is to the entire region as an emergency response resource. We've had the sheriff and other law enforcement agencies come in and say how important this is, and it creates a safety factor for pursuits. So we've had discussions about the value of this. The board gave direction to establish this account. I know, or I feel that Commissioner Klaus just doesn't like this or want this. And so I don't want to just start playing a game again where we're trying to delay, distract, or put up barriers for this moving forward, because I feel like we've already put it to bed that this is a valuable thing that we were moving forward on.
Can I speak to that, Chair? I just wanna say, assumptions about my intention, you can ask me what my intention is. Making an assumption, I guess, is your prerogative. But it's not that I don't want this, it's that I wanna make sure we're doing it the right way. I'm totally okay with what we're doing as long as we're following the law. And I just wanna make sure that we're doing that. This is a new thing that the county is doing. I don't think there's been a precedent set by Thurston County. I understand that staff have looked into other counties, and that's great. That's exactly what I would have asked the staff to do. So it sounds like we're on the right track with the research on this, but we're coming back. This is our very first meeting. We haven't had a board work session on how exactly the fund will operate. I know that the IRS requires certain documentation of donations to the government, which includes the name of the organization or person, the amount of the contribution, and a description if it's a non-cash contribution. A statement that no goods or services were provided by the organization in return for the contribution, if that was the case, and a description and good faith estimate of the value of goods or services, if any, that an organization provided in return for the contribution. So those are the kinds of things I just want to make sure that we have the scaffolding in place to abide by all of the laws at the state level and the federal level. And then again, the county level, I didn't see it in the code, but maybe it exists. I would like to see where it exists in the county code if that's possible.
Commissioner McHugh.
I just want to clarify that there is precedent for the county receiving donations and receiving in-kind contributions with prosecutors, with the dogs, for example. Those are not purchased by the county. Those were basically services that are donated to the county for the county to be able to provide those services to the community. Also, I believe the puppies usually get a lot of donations, both at the sheriff's office and, you know.
Some a lot.
And so there is, you know, the county is, receiving donations for the county is not new. We have a process set up already that where we can receive donations. This is just kind of per that request, and I went and saw different counties as I was looking last year as I was going through different counties and what their budget was and going through their budget systems. I was very surprised that a lot of them did have a sheriff's donation fund. And so that's why when the sheriff brought it forward, I didn't think it was, out there, for us to set something, aside, and see, and see how it goes, right? Maybe the sheriff will receive some donations, maybe.
If it's out there for us to accept people wanting to help county government, then I'm willing to go out there.
Yeah. And legal, right? You wanna make sure it's legal. It went through legal. This can't, you didn't draft this and legally vet it.
No.
Legal did it. We've done that. That box has been checked.
Yeah, it went through legal and it went through risk, I believe, as well.
And the funds committee, I'm sorry.
And the funds committee.
I kind of interrupted Commissioner Meehan, sorry.
No, I just want to say that, for me, like, I don't mind moving forward today, right? Because I think this is it's more of a procedural thing of setting up a fund. I think for the questions that Commissioner Klaus is asking, like maybe like a follow-up work session of like, okay, like once the fund is established, like what is like the intricacies of like the back and forth? Because I think that this for me is more procedural of like, okay, this is what we're going to create, and what we're going to be setting. So I wouldn't mind having like a follow-up work session and talking about like, okay, like, now that this is set up, like what are we going to be, what are the intricacies in it, legal, like what is, are you guys prepared for this? Like just as a follow-up.
I would just say, and I'll get to you, Commissioner Klaus, I would just say in response to that, even if we don't have a work session, there's no reason why, if Commissioner Klaus continues to pursue this and work with legal and find some issues, we can address them. I mean, to me, this is kind of the sheriff's point. This is kind of a separate piece of it that we'll probably want to do regardless. And then if we want to get more detailed about it, there would be time and opportunity for that. Commissioner Klaus.
Thank you. Yeah, I guess I just want to clarify, because it's been mentioned that I just don't want this. And that's actually not true. I think if we're going to accept donations, the most prudent thing to do would be to create a fund so that we can look at them and see them as separate items, and it makes it easier to track revenue. So this is the way to go if we're gonna do this. So I just wanna make sure that we've really looked at everything, and I understand legal has looked at this, but for us, the agenda was just posted yesterday, and so I've only had between yesterday and today to look into this. And when I saw that just the resolution was attached and no MOU yet, I was just a little bit concerned that there might be some boxes we still have to check. There are a lot of laws around donations, and I just wanna make sure we're doing it right. I don't wanna get a violation or some sort of audit finding because we missed a step. So that's all I'm saying, is that I just wanna make sure that we haven't missed a step. And, I'm willing to talk with whoever is able to answer some of those questions. Me and the sheriff meet regularly, and so maybe I could ask you some of those questions at our next meeting. But yeah, I just wanna make sure that we're not missing anything here. And once I feel comfortable with that, I'm ready to move forward with this, but I just have a few questions that aren't answered yet. And so if there's any way to move this to the next meeting, so that I can have opportunity to ask some of those questions, I would appreciate that. A board work session, I'm not opposed to Commissioner Mejia's idea to move this through before we have a board work session, as long as we have a follow-up. But I just think that because it's the first day back, I would like 2 more weeks to look at this a little bit more and ask some questions. So that's all I'm asking for.
If I may make one clarification, the agenda was posted last Friday and it was updated yesterday to remove one of the consent items prior to 2 p.m.
Answered my question. So the agenda was not just posted. The agenda was posted well in advance of this, and we've all had it. Thank you.
Okay. Me and my executive aide went over the agendas yesterday, and we just saw it yesterday. So I don't know what happened there, but
even when we switched out updated version.
Okay.
But it's been available
It
for
was
almost a
available.
week.
Yes.
Thank you.
I would just like to comment, so the reason that we've come before you guys today in this order, in this process, and again, I think it was always, I think we still have an outstanding work session for this whole thing anyways, because we talked last time about, hey, you guys would like to see an MOU and obviously vet that, and that all makes sense. We're good with that. The reason that the timeline is the way that it is that the MOU is still being worked on. So that we still have more to hammer out on that. That's all fine. It's going well. The fund piece here was one of the larger hurdles just because of how many different entities it involved. There was a funds committee that Chief Thompson went before and got it approved. We had to work closely with the county finance team and get all these different things set up. The next piece of this is the vendor point and pay. So they're the ones who are actually setting up the donation online form, basically, where people can go in and donate. That process is still gonna take weeks, maybe even more than a month. But they need a fund. We need some place for that money to fall. So this by no means is it like tomorrow, you guys submit this fund and tomorrow we have an ability to start taking in funds necessarily. Sure, people can send checks, but it's probably unlikely. So that's been kind of the steps in all of this, is that we get the fund set up while we're working on the MOU, and we come back before you guys, and meanwhile, Northwest Helicopters is still tearing this helicopter apart and making sure there aren't any major red flags, which so far there aren't any. So I think that's just to help contextualize the timeline. So I'm not opposed to a work session. I think that was already kind of outstanding, and I'm also not opposed to a town hall. I'm always happy to answer questions about helicopters, anything that we're doing, and I hold town halls every single year. And you know, I don't even know is that anyone who would contest the none of them showed up. So no one showed up at any of my town halls to basically say, you know, we don't want this. This is bad. Explain it. I proactively talked about it, and I got really good reception from all the attendees.
How many town halls did you hold last year? I know I went to some. You held 5, and it was talked about at every single one of them.
I talked about it. Other people didn't really. No one came and was like, tell me more. I just openly spoke about that. And I've spoken about it to the media, on social media. I've talked about it with you guys. And, you know, the two pieces of the helicopter that come up are misunderstanding about what it's used for, right? People thinking that the SWAT team is rappelling down for cannabis farms, all right? And then the second piece is money, right? Because the county's obviously going through economic distress a little bit, I'll call it that. And so to me, like, this was the answer to that. This was, can we put community goodwill towards an asset that we know people are interested in?
Sure.
I had Commissioner Meehan first.
I appreciate you going, and I know that there's a lot more conversations to come on the helic, but I don't want to conflate the two issues because I think they're different, right? One is the procedural creation of a fund, and then the other one is the donation fund, right? While there is the thought that it might help for the helicopter and all these pieces, like, this is just the creation piece. And so there are different internal steps for a creation of a fund internally that you had to go through. And you mentioned some of them. So, you know, for us, this is more of I just don't want to be mixing the two, right? Because the helicopter conversation there's still so much more. There's still a longer timeline to kind of have those discussions, bring forward the MOU, and those pieces. So I just, you know, as we're talking about this, I don't want to confuse the public with the helicopter conversation and the creation of this fund.
It's 2026, and I'm over and done with delaying and stalling tactics. We spent the entire year last year kicking the can on budget decisions because some people claimed they didn't get information and claimed they didn't understand things, and most of it was a farce, in my opinion. I was not saying you don't want a donation fund. I probably would say that you probably don't want it, but that's an assumption on mine. But anytime the sheriff comes before us, there is an attempt to delay, stall, pass on, move a decision into the future, and then there's eventually an abstention in a vote. I don't want to start the year off doing that. I think it's bad governance. We've removed 2 items from this agenda for further discussion, and there was consent on that, for to have work sessions on it. This one, it does not seem like there is consent on removing this item from the agenda.
Mr. Klaus.
Thank you. The sheriff comes before us quite often, and I would say most of the time, I am appreciative of the items that we have and agree with them. There have been many DUI grants that I've complimented the sheriff on receiving. There have been grants for different types of equipment, like the grappler, the Star Chase. We've received grants for that, and I have commended the sheriff multiple times on his ability to go out and seek those grants. So that's a complete lie, misperception of the actions that I take when the sheriff comes forward. I would say probably about 90% of the time I don't have any concerns. But with this one, I just, like I said, want to make sure we check all the boxes. You know, delaying things for further information, like Commissioner Fournier said, just happened on 2 of the other items. So the comments made about that just they don't apply. So the other couple things, so I just want to say that I didn't hear a resolution around some of the requirements that I listed. When we do receive donations that exceed $250, according to the IRS, we do need the name of those donors. So there are these 2 anonymous donations that I'm not understanding how we were able to accept them. And the resolution is very short. It doesn't outline anything about how the funds will be managed or tracked. So because those are requirements, I think that they should be listed in the resolution or at least somewhere else. Whether it's the MOU, I know that's a different issue, but there should be some sort of addendum that allows us as commissioners to understand the requirements of the incoming money and how it will be tracked. That is not bad governance. That's us being fiscally responsible and ensuring that we understand the stipulations of this fund so that we can make sure that it's done properly. And I know the sheriff wants that too. Nobody wants an accidental violation. According to MRSC, best practice is for local governments to develop a donation acceptance policy and include any limitations on donations. I would like staff to look into that. I would be interested in the board setting up a donation acceptance policy, being that we are creating a donation fund today, if this goes through. So there's a couple things that I would like to see happen. I would like to see a donation acceptance policy. And I would like to see something that outlines how we are complying with state and federal laws around accepting donations. And if those 2 things can be accomplished, I'd be happy to sign off on this, but I just want to make sure we're following the law.
Commissioner Grant.
Yeah, so, I guess I'll just say, I do have a couple concerns about, creating the donation fund before we've approved the MOU, because, what if we don't end up going forward with approving the MOU due to risk or something like that, and then we have to return money? That's one thing that's going on in my head. But I would say that I'm also not opposed to moving forward with this because you went through all this work and, but I would also say that I'm in support of Commissioner Klaus. I'm always gonna be in support of, adding additional, there's no reason for us not to add additional, information around how we're gonna use a fund and, just to make sure it's perfectly, on, all of the public has got their, questions answered. So again, I guess for me, if we, I'm okay. I honestly, if this was to stay on this today, I would vote yes, and we would move forward just because it needs to get done. But I think that if we have a commissioner who wants to see a little more work done on something, that we should consider that.
Okay, so is there, are we gonna move forward with this today?
I would agree with what Commissioner Grant just said.
I don't understand exactly what.
I would move
She
forward.
said if
She
it were
said-
on here, I would
Yeah.
vote for it today,
I
but.
guess if I'm saying, I would like to keep it on here today, vote for it, and then continue discussions as Commissioner Grant phrased it.
Commissioner Klaus.
I would like to move this item to department items.
Okay, it sounds like there's consensus, or not consensus, a majority would support keeping it on. We can move it to department items, absolutely, Commissioner Grant.
So just to clarify, so Commissioner Klaus, I mean, are you in, if we could get some approval from us that there would be additional work done on this after we approve it today, will that be okay? I think that we are all kind of like, this is a procedural, I am very much in the opinion that this is procedural and it needs to just move forward. But I also think that we should just move it forward without you getting some more information done, or, you know, is that okay?
That's a good question, I appreciate that. You know, if we could direct staff to come up with a donation acceptance policy, and maybe to include the laws, cite the laws in the resolution number. Those are two things that would make me a lot more comfortable. So I don't know if there's a majority of the board that is interested in directing staff to create this policy. And if we could do those two things, I would be okay with moving it forward today.
We're not gonna, the donation acceptance policy is not gonna materialize in.
No, not today, just in the like in the near future to work on that.
I got a question, and I'm trying to understand, just so I can make a note for follow-up stuff. But when we had our staff that are experts in budget, experts in the accounting side, the accounting team, the budget team, the legal, all these experts in this, because obviously I'm not an expert in making a fund of any sort, but we followed a process that they had outlined, and these were the rules that the county have. We have to do A, B, and C to get this fund in front of you all. And so I guess I'm not understanding what step are we missing? Because by no means are we gonna try to put together a fund that's illegal. In no way is the county, budget team, anybody gonna let us manage a fund that's illegal. So I guess I'm kind of confused on what we're really needing to track. If we need to make a policy, something was already in place that we had to follow to get to this point, so.
It's all been done already.
Okay, so
Right?
I
Is
guess
that
my
what-
question,
is that-
that's what I'm,
And that's what I've heard today.
understanding. So that, I guess I'm wanting to make sure that what piece are we missing that we are not following, I guess?
And I guess I can speak to that since I was the one with the questions. So I'm not saying that your office missed a step. I'm saying that us as county commissioners should ensure that all steps are being followed, and that when I say we should create a donation acceptance policy, I'm not saying it's specific to this fund. I'm saying in general, if we want to accept donations as a county, we should have some sort of policy in place. It shouldn't be specific to the sheriff's office. It should be a countywide policy. So that's what I was referring to. Yeah, thank you for your question. And then as far as on the documentation side, the only thing that I think is missing from the resolution today is the citation of the specific laws that we're referring to. So is that something staff could add before the 2 o'clock meeting?
We would have to work with legal. Yeah, legal. But what impacts does it have changing the resolution the day of the meeting?
At the 2 p.m. meeting, I think the board would make a motion to amend the resolution.
Okay.
Since the resolution as is has been posted.
Okay.
My only concern is if there are several different laws listed there, the legal's gonna ask which ones are.
Time to identify which ones apply.
And oftentimes our legal team has expressed that doing work in a short period of time causes them a bit of, I don't wanna speak for them, but concern because they don't want to miss something or not do something appropriately. So I think to the undersheriff, this item, you did work with legal to do it to form, because that's what you do with resolutions, and they're the ones that advise on the language.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay.
Can you read one more, since I think you've got it in your hand, can you read the sentence that you're referring to that you'd like to have legal
yeah.
citations added to?
Absolutely, yeah. It says, whereas the establishment of said fund may be accomplished without a public hearing pursuant to state and county budget laws.
Yeah, I mean, the resolution's basically just saying that the attorney who drafted that, which I believe is Chad, looked at the state and county budget laws and said that we're good.
Yeah.
Does that citation need to be in the resolution, or is this more of a clarification with the legal team offline of, hey, can you show me what those laws were? I think it would be if the if the board were to set a precedence moving forward that every single whereas has a legal citation within it, you are going to have some very long resolutions. So I don't know, I guess that would be my own opinion, looking at these resolutions, is that I don't know if that needs to be in the resolution, or if there's more just a clarifying context of, hey, can you cite which of these laws were?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, so not every resolution refers to state and county budget laws in every line. So there would never be a need to add laws if the law is not referred to. But in this case, it does say pursuant to state and county budget laws, and I had to go and do research. That took some time, and I haven't done all the research I would have done if I had some more time with this. But the public will see this, and they aren't gonna know where to start. So I do think that it does need a citation in this line.
I have to say that on this one, I mean, just thinking this through on the fly, I can see situations like if the statement was, money can be spent pursuant to state and county budget laws. That one is a little squirrely, right? Because the public may want to know what that could be spent on. That's a substantive provision that I would see your point. Saying like there needs to be a public hearing and there doesn't, I don't see it as it's, I don't put it in the same category. I mean, if legal says we don't need a public hearing, I don't understand why a member of the public would go down a rabbit hole of research to figure out whether, I mean, I don't
You've
think,
seen it with other things.
well, maybe.
It's likely that it doesn't exist because it doesn't say anywhere that it's needed to have a public hearing. You know what I'm saying? Like there's probably not a law out there saying there's no public hearing needed for accepting these, you know, this type of thing. But it probably doesn't even exist. So you've got nothing to reference because our legal team went through and said, well, there's nothing in law saying that we need to have this.
Yeah, sometimes as a drafting technique, you would write it that way because you can't show a negative, right?
We can definitely reach out to the attorney that helped put this together. I just don't want to put them under the pressure cooker of, you got to get this done and ready to go by 2 o'clock.
This is an email that could be sent and answered, I would imagine.
Yeah.
Sometime in the future.
Right. It just may take them a day or two to respond. Be respectful of their time.
I'd like to be respectful of the public who will look at this and wonder what laws we're referring to.
Okay, so we gotta come to a decision point on whether or not this is gonna be on today's agenda. It's obviously not gonna be a consent item, that's been established, but will it be on today's agenda, or is there a desire to have it moved to a different agenda?
I guess my question would be, if it were moved to the next meeting, which is in 2 weeks, would that cause any issues with the sheriff's office? Are there people ready and waiting for this to come up, and will a 2-week delay impact your ability to operate the aviation program?
We'll survive, but there are people who wanted to donate in December.
Okay.
So they've been waiting and wanting to know
Yeah.
when and where kind of thing.
Okay.
So, yeah, I mean, it just.
Yeah, because my intention is not to disrupt the program at all. If there's something you need to spend money on for your aviation program today, and you need this fund today, that, you know, that matters to me. That would weigh in on my decision greatly, because I don't want to disrupt your program. But if there's a 2-week window to kind of talk through this, have a conversation with legal, figure out what laws we're referring to, and make sure that all these boxes have been checked. I mean, our legal team's reviewed this, and that's great, but if I get questions and I can't answer them, then I'm gonna have to go and figure out the answer for the public. I do that a lot, but it's a lot easier for me to answer questions when we're citing what laws we're referring to. That helps greatly. So, and I know that the public will see this and be upset that we're taking advantage of this opportunity to do something without a public hearing, which is totally within our authority. We can do that, but the public's gonna wonder why they didn't get a chance to come to a public hearing. And I just wanna be able to say, hey, RCW whatever says that we can do this without a public hearing, or it doesn't mention that we need a public hearing, but I can't answer those questions right now if it's not in here. So I just would like some additional time to get some of those questions answered.
None of us can speak for all of the public. I think there's a lot of public that are just fine with it.
Well,
You know? So like, there might be a few people that have questions, and you know, we will be able to answer those.
I will say, the people who are upset at the obscurity presented of not having to do a public hearing will still be upset when they find out that we don't have to do a public hearing, and we don't have a public hearing, and we just establish a donation fund and then have to go through. And like I said, this is a tip of the iceberg. There is still a lot more work to be done before we're even close to having a helicopter take off and go find a missing autistic boy. We're still a long ways from that. So I guess I just want to provide that caveat out there. I think the board can go either way. If you guys want to delay it by 2 weeks, we'll delay by 2 weeks and then go right back into working. Otherwise, I feel like we've gone through the process. Like Under Sheriff Mencius has stated, this is a process that is currently set up by the county. So if the county is acknowledging there's a fault in the process, then we'll stop, we'll put everything on hold, and we'll wait for that problem to resolve itself. If there's not a problem in the process, if attorneys have looked at it and cleared it, if risk has looked at it, if the finance team and the team that sets up funds, the committee that we had to go through has looked at it and said it's okay, I'm also okay with the fund being created. And I will also acknowledge, if you are correct and we find out that everything we're doing is illegal, I will be right back here asking you guys to dissolute the fund.
I'm kind of curious why everyone thinks that I'm saying that this is illegal.
No, I'm saying if it is, right? If there is some sort of major issue with the resolution, I'll be the first one to come right back to you and say, can we all dissolute this fund or change it or do whatever we need to do to fix that problem? So I'm okay either way. I'm not gonna take offense, so.
Thank you. I do want to say, I just dug through, we do have a donation policy.
Awesome. I would love to see that. Send that to me.
Yep, it's a donated asset and it's very clear on donations of cash, donations of equipment, donations of capital asset. So again, like I mentioned, the county's not new to donations. I was thinking of public health and social services. We've received donations with a variety. I mean, we were collecting winter items and, in December, we collect, there's just different forms of donations. So, the county does have a donation policy.
Thank you so much. Is there somewhere I can find that or the public can find that?
Yeah,
online?
it is on our, instructions and manuals for financial services. Under fixed and small assets.
Thank you. That was very helpful.
Okay, so
Let's keep it on the consent
It'll
calendar.
be on today's agenda as a department item, Commissioner Claus?
Yes.
You got that, Madam Clerk? Thank you.
At the 2 p.m. meeting to move the item to a department item.
Yep.
Would you like us to reach out to the attorney to see if we can maybe get any clarification? I can't make any promises.
Yeah, maybe me and you can touch base if you have like a minute after the meeting's over. I don't know if you do. I can even call you, but.
Yeah, just give me a call.
Okay.
'Cause I've got a meeting I'm heading to now.
Okay.
And then we will reach out to the attorney and see if he can get at least get you a reference for that.
That'd be great. Yeah, I appreciate it. Cause I mean, if we can't add it today, I can say it on the record so people can hear that. I mean, there's other workarounds, but
That's
yeah.
kind of what I was getting at, is that
Yeah.
the resolution, I think, is not necessarily something that has to be amended for that, especially if it can be well-known what those specific laws are being referred to.
But I would go back to Commissioner Fournier was right on target when he said, like, if the lawyer is asked, is there something that requires a public hearing, and then you review there's nothing in there that says it, the proper response back is, after review of budget laws and state laws, no public hearings needed. There's nothing to cite there, because
Well, what are the
it's
laws?
every law, it's
No.
every law that you reviewed. You can't,
If they say we
you
reviewed
can't
the
cite a law
law,
that doesn't have something.
you can cite the laws that you looked into that show.
That would not be appropriate, and that would not be appropriate.
The Harvard attorney says.
That would not be appropriate in a resolution to draft in that way.
You're
If
basically
if
saying
that's the case, now,
A
again,
lack of law would just be a positive response that I checked and it complies. Because there's nothing and that's kind of what my understanding of it was that because there's nothing that requires a public hearing, that was where that kind of positive affirmation from the attorney in the resolution would say, hey, this complies with budget laws and ordinances. But then if you go and research it, like you're saying, you're having a hard time, it might be because there's nothing there.
Well, there are some actually, there are some RCWs relating to receiving donations. Those could be easily added.
Yes, I just mean the need to have a public hearing for a donation fund is, I think, what I was trying to clarify, but
Okay.
nonetheless.
Anyway, I just want to make that point. Let's move on from that item, and we've got a couple, thank you, Sheriff.
Thank you.
We've got a couple of voucher lists from November 24th, December 1st. Any questions from the board on those items, which will be on consent? We have we'll make a motion, and there'll be two department items based on today's discussion, presumably. And public comment related to general matters. Did you hear my comment, Commissioner Claus, might have been before you came in, about handling the public comment in the same way we did on the last meeting? Since you and I really haven't sat down to talk about any alternatives, I'm gonna make the advisement at the beginning about if somebody has a pressing time constraint, they can give the public comment in the earlier period. So that's how I intend to keep it as a placeholder until we discuss anything different than that.
Okay.
You don't sound happy, but.
Well, I don't think that it matters, so we can just talk about that.
Okay. Commissioners' community reports, and that's the end of the agenda.
Chair, before we leave the agenda, we were tracking for items 5 and 6 that we would have a board work session next week, but not that we would be removing the items. Just want to clarify what the board's intent was.
I thought that the suggestions were they were removed.
No, we never said we'd remove the items. But it's really up to the board.
I did not understand that for 6, for sure. For 5, Commissioner Fournier, you had said you'd like the same as
I want
the
the same
5.
thing, yeah, which
Doesn't necessarily mean removal.
removing it and having a work session.
Yeah. We've actually had work session on that exact thing last year. We had a work session on the different funding sources for the housing, for some of the housing projects. So there's 2 different RFP cycles. We've had that explained. I'm sure that Commissioner Fournier has maybe hopefully the ability to look that up. We're all on YouTube. So we've had that exact work session, and the grant cycle has always been that it comes out early January. So I think we need to move forward with item 5.
There's been some subsequent discussions regarding requesting from the RHC and I'm basically like emergency funding preparations. And I don't know if that letter has been drafted, and that was coming from the mayors. So I wanna take a close look at any money that is going out, coming from certain places.
So this one is just to issue the request for proposals to receive applications. It's not to move forward with specific projects or even to give money out. It's just to issue the RFP so that people can apply, so that agencies can apply.
So I would wanna review and take a look at where those sources are coming from.
Have you checked the AIS for this item? Because there's some information in there.
Not today, I just got this agenda this morning. I'm joking.
Commissioner Mejia, I saw your hand.
Thank you. I just want to clarify, so for 6, I'm okay with, that one's not being removed, right? I just wanted like a follow-up work session, I'm okay with moving forward.
That's what Scott understood.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's what everybody understood on 6.
Okay,
So
yeah.
now we're kind of revisiting 5 as to make sure whether there was a
So what is
desire.
your
I just don't want, I wanna be careful of putting out any RFPs that are gonna be maybe not in alignment with some some funding scares.
So you wanna hold up the contract for emergency housing for veterans? Just wanting to make sure that that's what you're asking?
I'm not sure, any money that's coming out of like the ERP or any money, like if that's not where that's associated, then, please enlighten me. But there was a big discussion amongst the mayors and the city managers that any funding coming out of the RHC, there was going to be a letter drafted that said we need to kind of make sure that we're developing a plan B emergency level funding plan to ensure that, the obligations that we have are the things that are giving priority on funding. And if that's in alignment with that, then, then it makes sense. But I wanna be cautious of anything that's going out where there's money that may no longer exist.
Could I jump in there? Cause I was at that meeting, but now I'm kind of tracking where you're going. And county manager, you were at the meeting, correct? The 3 cities meeting, which is county administrators and city and county administrator and mayors and chair of the board. So I understood the city of Olympia, Mayor Payne was gonna be circulating a letter for our review.
Yeah, the context in the meeting was just before the break on the Friday lunch meeting. And the context was the city of Olympia brought up the perspective that, we're all aware that funding in the RHC realm has had some challenges, and with Commerce making some of the decisions that they've had to make, some of the funding for projects has dried up. So a discussion then ensued that the mayors would consider, and Olympia would take the lead on drafting a letter for the chair's review, and ultimately it would come before the board. But to ask the RHC to come up with an emergency plan on addressing the shortfalls in funding and what that emergency plan would look like. So that's something that has yet to be produced, probably because everyone soon after.
Yeah, it was right. It was our last business day essentially.
Yes.
And I was expecting to be seeing that coming from Olympia. It really wasn't driven by us per se, that conversation, but everybody seemed to be in agreement. And I think I might have communicated with you about that, just to give you a heads up that there was gonna be this request, as you're our RHC rep, that this group might be saying to the RHC, hey, go ahead and do what you're doing, but we would all, since you're the subject matter experts, we'd also like you to be thinking about if funding got contracted, how we keep all of our projects going. So I think what Commissioner Fournier is asking is, does this item get us out ahead of that? And I'm looking to the county manager, is that?
Yeah, I don't think it's if money's gonna get retracted. I think money is going to disappear. So I am worried.
Yeah, we talked about that with Dr. Freiheit and Tom Webster, knowing that that discussion had happened. And again, their comment is this is just simply to release the RFP. This isn't assigning any funds. The other part of the discussion we had is a refresher for the board on all the different funding that touches our Office of Homeless Services, RCH, and what the money's being used for. We did that back, I think, in early spring of 2025, but it may be time to do it again in light of where the mayors seem to come to a sense of agreement. It could be helpful for you as chair to engage with Office of Homeless Services staff on some of the specifics, because ultimately, I think if it does go to request RHC, it would be our staff would be helping you as the chair put something like that together, and so we could do that in a sense.
And RHC decision-making, I'm looking to Commissioner Klaus, is like late spring or something, right?
Yep.
When you actually dig into making, you could direct, you could go different ways in terms of this process.
And there's, sorry, can I just say one thing
sorry.
in response to that? We really do need as much time as we can get to review the applications that come in. There's always way more people ask for than what is available. And delaying this item by 2 weeks would mean 2 weeks less to review those and make really tough decisions.
Commissioner Grant, go ahead.
I was gonna say, the procedural part that Tom and Jen were mentioning is there's still a long runway before the board would have to make any decisions. We can update, but just getting this out, since in this county, we have to ask the board's permission just to even go out to RFP. That's the part that they would need to first initiate, and we don't have that green light. I am inclined to agree with Commissioner Klaus that extra time on something that then becomes compressed at the back end is important.
Commissioner Grant and then Commissioner.
I was just gonna say that I would think that those are two completely different things, this is an RFP, so getting it, I would agree that it's really important that we get it out so it stays on time, and so services, some people might be reapplying for services, and so we don't wanna hold that up. But I think the other, what I think I'm hearing you guys say is that at the Three Cities meeting, that you're saying that you wanna make sure there's something in place in case we see some sort of federal and or state contract some of the money, right? And so, but that wouldn't affect this year's proposals, it would affect next year's proposals. And so I just wanna make sure folks know that, cause usually it's a year ahead, so, yeah.
We've already seen the money retract, and I'll go with whatever, the majority of the board wants. And, and happily vote in favor if that's the case, but I'm wanting to ring the bell on this, that money is disappearing from the state and the feds. And when you put out the RFP, the next time we try to have this conversation and I'm like, hey, Olympia is coming and they're already looking for more money because they can't fund these things that we've already set up. The thing that is told us, well, the RFPs went out and those organizations they've already got the money written into their budget. So now it's too late to retract it. So that is what happens when you keep the conversation going and you don't, push pause and rethink.
Commissioner Claus.
Thank you. Issuing the RFPs doesn't put money in anyone's budget. It lets people apply for funds. If we decide or find out that we don't have the funds, we don't issue the money. We don't accept any of the applications. I also have the answer for you on where the funds come from. So for the homeless services RFP, which is the one to fund cold and hazardous weather, which we are probably gonna go into a code blue probably this week. I don't know what the weather says, but it's almost freezing weather already, so we really need to get that money out. That comes from local document recording fees. So that's local money. We're not gonna lose state or federal money on that one. For the affordable housing RFP, we are using federal home funds, so that's something to maybe look at. But we are also using the local home fund, which is local sales tax revenue from the county and the city of Olympia. We are also using money from state sales tax revenue for that one. And all of the affordable housing revenue sources must be used on capital projects and cannot be used for services. So I hope that helps.
It does help.
And there's also, I'm finding a lot of information in the document that's attached to the AIS. It's a 60-page document that outlines all of the different stipulations. It gives us multiple clauses to jump out if we don't have money. So I think you might be pleased to see all of the protections we have in here. And I'm happy to do additional research and even share that with you before the 2 o'clock meeting if you need that before the 2 o'clock meeting.
So my inclination would be to move forward on the cold weather housing one, and I would put, my inclination would be push pause on anything that is spending from the local home fund, because that is, in my mind, that is the one that has the most ability to be used on the needs that we already have.
Commissioner Mejia and then Commissioner Grant.
Thank you. I'm getting just flashbacks. This was the same conversation we had last year. I just want to highlight that. At last year, I brought concerns forward because it wasn't in the governor's budget. And so we had to, kind of deal with that situation. And we actually drafted a letter to the RHC asking them to come up with a plan B. And so I'm wondering, is there already a plan B based on the letter that we wrote for these services?
So the RHC did discuss contingency plans when that letter came forward last year. There wasn't a documented plan B that was written out to be provided to the full board, but it was discussed in our meetings and we talked about different ways to explore what we could do. I've also, in conversations with staff, really what we need to do, and if we want a written opinion from the RHC, I'd be happy to bring that to the agenda. But I think really what we need to do, Commissioner Fournier is right that federal funds are at risk. And I think because of that, we need to really look at our budget and how we're basing that off of our values. And if our values are that we want to make sure we have as many resources as possible for the services that are at risk due to the federal situation. That's something I think we should really, really consider this year during all our budget conversations, because we will lose federal money for services that are much needed, life or death services. And because of that, we might need to try to figure out a solution at the county level, which is gonna be really difficult. It might mean we have to take money away from other, take more money away from offices and departments to make sure that our unhoused community members aren't going to die. But yeah, to your question, it was discussed, but it wasn't documented. It would probably be in the meeting minutes, and I could find those for you to let you know, to share with the full board what conversations we had. But it was something that we discussed at the RHC meeting, and that staff looked into, so.
Commissioner Grant and then Commissioner Forner.
Well, I just also wanted to kind of point out too that, reminder that both Commissioner Mejia, I think at this point, and myself, sit on state housing councils, homelessness council. Mine is the State Advisory Board on Homelessness, which is staffed by Department of Commerce.
Affordable housing.
Yeah,
for
and
me.
you're on the affordable housing one, and so, we are having, those statewide conversations, which include what's gonna be in the governor's budget, what's gonna be recommended, where should we be concerned about federal funding being cut? And we're both attending those, on a regular, every month. And so I just kind of wanna remind folks that we are lucky here, that we've got kind of all of us working on, those things all the time, and that if any of those concerns come up where I think we need to start panicking, we both, Commissioner Mejia and I, would be able to bring that forward too. I just wanted to kind of remind folks that that's something that's happening in the, behind the scenes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that,
Commissioner Forner.
sorry.
Klaus, then you.
It's past time to start panicking on these things. Yes, it is. Like you have Lehigh going to the city of Olympia saying they're wanting to convert a number of their units to be leased out and no longer available to the homeless population because they can't afford to run their operation. We sent the letter to the RHC last year raising the red flag, saying money is going to disappear, and you need to figure out contingency plans that take care of the obligations that we have. That was largely unheard, and the request was not taken seriously. We had to then go to the Department of Commerce and save their bacon, really. We had to go into difficult negotiations, and the county manager and Commissioner Menser and Mayor Ryder went and saved, the community's bacon on getting them to reallocate funds in the way that we needed them. And so, I really think any money that is coming out of the local home fund, that is coming from federal funds, that is coming from sales tax, those monies are, and it is not that we're going to have to cut more from departments and offices. It is, we need to wisely allocate the resources that have been given to us to take care of these programs and ensure that we're not funding new programs that we can't afford and creating new obligations.
Commissioner Klaus.
Thank you. So I understand the concerns. They are being taken very seriously. These are conversations we're having every month at the RHC meeting. Additionally, the contract guidelines do outline that if some of the money is unavailable, then the grant amount would be reduced. So we're covering ourselves. Almost any situation you can think of with money not being available, it's all outlined in the guidelines for the grant. So if you have those questions, I would really encourage you to look at that. It's just in the AIS, but I'm happy to email it too. But a lot of your questions are answered in this. And I know it's long, it's 60 pages, but you can control find some of your specific questions and keywords and you'll find it. That's what I just did. So we're covered. There's a lot of different parts of this that allow us to do what we need to do if money changes, so.
Yeah, I was gonna say that, I think there's a lot of conversations that we need to have in terms of the RHC and like just, you know, situations happening both at the state and federal level and how we're allocating funds. I think with the RFP, right, I think that is, I'm also seeing that more as a procedural step of going out and asking for requests, not a promise of organizations getting funded. I think if things were to go hayward, then, you know, then it would be at the RHC level to pause and look to, you know, maybe that's where the contingency. I just think we really need to, I do agree with Commissioner Fournier of like, continuing to have those contingency conversations is important. Because the, and continuing to see, and have the conversations on how we're allocating the funds and, you know, I think we've all heard about Lehigh, and the concerns there and, you know, real concerns. And I think that, you know, at the board level, I think we just maybe need to take some time to have those conversations. But I don't think that item number 5 really has, I'm just seeing it more procedurally more than anything, just a step in the process. And it gives us still time if, you know, we hear back that things are going to change at the legislature to react. But if not, it just lets the process move forward.
I agree with all that. I think I appreciate Commissioner Fournier reminding me and bringing forward that meeting we had in December, just so we can sort of think about how the pieces fit and this process goes. I see this as procedural and I'm supportive of moving it forward, but I'm glad you brought this up early so that, because I just gave like Commissioner Klaus the tiniest sliver of a heads up that what we said. So I'm glad we have this more detailed conversation about what it was all about. And I think we could do a better job than we did last year of kind of getting ahead of the thought process of the whole thing. So it's good to bring this up today.
Yeah, and I'll support moving it forward. I think, you know, like the bigger issue is just as you said, that there are issues on the horizon. I would like to be confident that our representative on the RHC is representing the county and the county's needs and the county's interests. But then, you know, I also think that there was a disconnect with that representative and the reality of the budget. So, you know, like, it scares me that a true understanding of our situation budgetarily doesn't exist, and then, you know, going as a representative on our behalf or just being a member of the RHC. It's because, you know, because when you're sitting, it's hard to hold both roles, but your primary role is to the board here and to make sure that this county as an organization can continue existing. And to say, well, we'll just take more money from offices and departments if something's underfunded, that's not reality. You know what I'm saying?
Any other good, so I think I'm hearing that I'm hearing that the majority of the board, at least, if not all of us, want to keep this forward on today's agenda. So there's more to come on that. Okay, very good. Thank you for that review. First and final review of today's board agenda, commissioner items is next. Another commissioner item we need to address. Seeing none, okay, then we can adjourn. See everybody 2 o'clock. Commissioner Mejia, disappointing.